Something feels off when you walk through the snack aisle these days. Every package screams the same promises: all natural, no artificial flavors, gluten free, non GMO. You grab one feeling like you've made the smart choice. Maybe it's a granola bar, maybe it's a protein bite that claims to boost energy and help recovery. It looks healthy, it feels clean. But is it? The truth hiding behind those bright wrappers might shock you. What if the snacks that built their brand on wellness are quietly loaded with ingredients that work against the very health they claim to protect? And here's a question worth asking early. If politicians can use fine print to slip loopholes into tax codes, as Donald Trump once did to protect his wealth, what makes you think billion-dollar food companies don't do the same with your snacks? For years, the health snack industry has thrived on one simple truth. People want to feel better about what they eat without sacrificing convenience. That emotional need became a gold mine. Brands realized they could sell the same processed formulas as long as they replaced sugar with natural alternatives and used earth tone packaging that whispers organic. What used to be candy bars now wear the disguise of energy bars. What used to be desserts are now post-workout recovery bites. The language changed, the profits skyrocketed, and consumers believed the illusion. Take a moment to think about your daily routine. You rush to work, grab a healthy bar from the pantry, and feel like you've made a responsible choice. You tell yourself it's just oats, nuts, and honey. But behind that image of wholesomeness lies an intricate play of chemistry, marketing, and psychology. Companies have mastered the art of sounding pure while keeping formulas nearly identical to traditional junk food. What they save in transparency, they spend in design and storytelling. Among the biggest names in this world sits Kind. Its bars, neatly wrapped with visible nuts and drizzle lines, symbolize clean snacking. The brand's message revolves around simplicity and real ingredients. And to its credit, many of its products genuinely use recognizable components. But the problem isn't the ingredient list itself, it's the perception. A Kind bar can contain as much sugar as a candy bar, though it's presented as a source of good energy. That doesn't make it bad, but it does mean moderation matters more than marketing. The company meets all safety standards, but when consumers treat these bars as health food rather than occasional treats, the balance tips the wrong way. The same goes for Cliff Bar, a pioneer in the energy for adventure category. Cliff built its empire by promising fuel for active lifestyles. For athletes or hikers burning thousands of calories, its composition makes sense: carbs for quick energy, protein for recovery. But for office workers and students, the same bar might be more than necessary. Each bite packs a blend of syrups and concentrated sugars designed to sustain endurance athletes, not sedentary afternoons. Cliff Bar doesn't hide that fact. It's written clearly on the label, but the problem is that few people read beyond the words organic and plant-based. The company has long positioned itself responsibly, but its reputation as a healthy daily snack comes more from cultural momentum than nutritional truth. Then there's Larabar, a brand built on the power of minimalism. Its slogan, "Food made from food," captures the idea of simplicity. Most bars have only a handful of ingredients: dates, nuts, fruit, and spices. On the surface, it seems perfect, but even natural ingredients can be dense with calories and sugar. A single Larabar can contain the equivalent sugar of 2 medium bananas, all naturally occurring, but still potent when consumed mindlessly. The danger isn't in the product, it's in the illusion that natural sugar is harmless. In high amounts, your body still processes it as sugar. These examples highlight a deeper issue within the industry. Health branding has become a psychological game. Words like clean, natural, energy, and real trigger trust. Visual cues, brown paper textures, soft fonts, and earthy tones reinforce that trust. But many consumers don't realize how regulated language allows companies to stretch definitions. For instance, natural flavor doesn't necessarily mean it came straight from fruit or herbs. It can be a lab-extracted compound derived from natural sources, refined until it barely resembles the original ingredient. The term is legally compliant, yet misleading in spirit. Nutrition experts often warn that the health halo effect is powerful. When a brand gains your trust once, you apply that trust to everything they make. Kind, Cliff, Larabar, and others built strong credibility through selective transparency, showing what looks good while leaving out the context that matters most: portion, frequency, and total sugar load. Consumers rarely question these details because the design feels wholesome. That comfort is the product. Behind the scenes, marketing teams conduct focus groups to learn what visuals and buzzwords make people feel virtuous. It's not just about flavor anymore, it's about emotion. When someone eats a snack marketed as healthy, they experience a psychological lift, a subtle sense of pride. That emotion translates into repeat purchases. It's why health snack sales have doubled in less than a decade, even as obesity rates continue to climb. The contradiction speaks volumes. Another subtle trick is the use of protein as a halo term. Many bars add isolated protein from soy or whey, giving the impression of a fitness-oriented product. But without context, protein content alone means little. A bar with 10 grams of protein can still contain 25 grams of sugar, creating an unbalanced macronutrient profile. Brands lean on that single number because it signals strength and health to consumers, especially in gym culture. The marketing works because most people don't calculate ratios, they read promises. Let's not forget Nature Valley, a household name synonymous with granola bars. Its crunchy texture and nostalgic ads suggest nature's goodness. Yet the brand's early recipes were often high in added sugars and oils to achieve that signature texture. In fairness, Nature Valley has made strides to reduce artificial ingredients and adjust formulas over time. Still, its image as a wholesome breakfast alternative lingers far stronger than its nutritional reality. The bars remain more of a treat than a health staple. And then there's Quest, the modern gym goer's favorite. Marketed as low sugar and high protein, Quest bars cater to the fitness crowd. They use sugar alcohols and fiber blends to maintain sweetness without conventional sugar spikes. For many, that's a helpful innovation, but for others, especially those with sensitive digestion, the same ingredients can cause discomfort. Again, Quest doesn't conceal this information, it's clearly labeled, but few consumers read small print about sugar alcohol effects. It's not deception, it's distraction. The line between healthy and healthy sounding keeps blurring because the industry operates within rules that allow it. As long as ingredients are declared and regulations met, companies can emphasize whatever aspects make them look good. The government monitors safety, not narrative honesty. So the illusion continues. The same system that lets financial elites navigate tax codes for personal benefit allows food corporations to market within technical truth while avoiding moral clarity. Think about how emotional this all becomes. Food isn't just fuel, it's identity. The snacks you buy reflect the lifestyle you aspire to. Marketers know this better than anyone. They sell not just a bar, but an image of balance and control, a version of you that feels capable, mindful, and responsible. You're not just eating oats, you're eating self-discipline. The illusion of health becomes a quiet form of self-validation, and because it feels good, we stop questioning it. Yet, the more you look at labels and serving sizes, the more you realize how much of this world depends on selective truth. Ingredients are technically correct, yet the impression they create can be misleading. Nutritional claims are technically accurate, yet context changes everything. A snack might truly be healthy in small doses, but become problematic when treated as a meal replacement. The language of wellness, in other words, has become a tool for sales, not education. This doesn't mean these brands are villains. They provide real convenience. They meet safety standards, and many genuinely aim to improve. But as consumers, we've given them too much trust. We assume healthy equals harmless. And that assumption fuels the quiet danger, overconsumption disguised as self-care. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how these brands shape your choices before you even realize it, the subtle psychology that turns a simple snack into a daily ritual. We'll explore what happens behind the packaging, from sugar science to corporate storytelling, and why even the smartest shoppers fall for it every time. Before we ever taste a healthy snack, our brains have already made a decision. We eat with our eyes first, but more importantly, we eat with our beliefs. Marketing psychologists have known this for decades. The color of a wrapper, the shape of a logo, even the font choice can change how your brain perceives nutrition. That soft beige tone on a Kind Bar wrapper isn't random. It's meant to whisper natural. The bright greens on a Cliff package are chosen to activate associations with energy and freshness. Every design element triggers a feeling, not a fact. You think you're making a logical food choice, but you're responding to a story designed by professionals who study human behavior for a living. In modern grocery stores, product psychology has replaced product substance as the real battleground. Consumers are smarter now, reading labels and Googling ingredients. But brands have evolved too. They know how to guide your attention away from the fine print and toward emotional cues. For example, the word organic in bold letters might make you forget that the product still contains syrups or sweeteners. The phrase plant-based might lead you to assume it's low in sugar, even when it's not. These are technically truthful statements that rely on predictable human shortcuts. We see what we want to believe. The science behind this is fascinating but slightly unsettling. Studies from consumer psychology journals show that when people perceive a product as healthy, they tend to underestimate its calories and overconsume. It's called the health halo effect. When you think a bar is good for you, you're more likely to eat two instead of one. You may even justify an indulgent meal later because you ate healthy earlier. This cognitive distortion benefits food companies immensely. It's not that they lie, they just let you fill in the blanks in a way that favors their sales. Kind Cliff and Nature Valley all use imagery that connects to outdoor adventure and wholesome living. You see mountains, sunlight, hiking trails. That imagery makes you feel active, even if you're sitting in traffic eating the bar. It's a mental transaction between aspiration and identity. You're not buying food, you're buying a small piece of the person you wish to be. This is why the term lifestyle brand carries so much weight in the wellness industry. A granola bar becomes a symbol of self-control and discipline. Once that identity link is established, skepticism fades. Nowhere is this effect clearer than with Larabar. Its minimalist design and simple ingredient list create instant trust. People love counting the few words on the back of the package, often reciting them proudly. Dates, almonds, cashews. But even that transparency serves a purpose. The simplicity of the list disguises density. Each date used in those bars packs concentrated fructose. Natural, yes, but still sugar. Larabar thrives on the perception that fewer ingredients equal better nutrition. In reality, fewer ingredients can mean less balance. The absence of additives doesn't automatically make something light or low calorie. Yet most consumers don't think in those terms. They equate simplicity with purity. Cliff Bar mastered another psychological trick, purpose-driven eating. The brand connects its bars to specific moments of effort: cycling, hiking, running. This targeted marketing creates a permission frame. When you eat a Cliff Bar, you feel like you're part of a tribe of achievers. It's not just a snack, it's a badge of participation. The irony is that many buyers never use that energy as intended. The bar becomes desk fuel, not trail fuel. But the emotional reward remains. You feel like you made a performance choice, even if you're only performing productivity at your laptop. What makes this dynamic more concerning is how it shifts responsibility. When health issues like weight gain or sugar crashes occur, consumers often blame themselves instead of the marketing system. The brands can always say, "We were transparent. The nutrition facts are on the label." And they are right. But most people don't interpret data as numbers. They interpret it as trust. They assume organic, natural, or gluten-free are shorthand for healthy. This is not misinformation. It's carefully designed ambiguity. To see how deep this runs, think about Nature Valley. Its crunchy bars often sit in cereal aisles, right next to breakfast staples. That placement alone gives it legitimacy. Shoppers think it's next to oats and granola, so it must be similar. But placement is a marketing tool too. Retailers arrange products strategically, often in partnership with brands. The goal is to associate certain emotions, comfort, health, nostalgia with specific shelves. It's the silent choreography of consumer psychology. You think you're navigating choices, but the path was designed for you. Quest Nutrition plays a different game. Its strategy targets the fitness demographic, leveraging science-sounding terms like net carbs and isomalto-oligosaccharides. To the average consumer, these words sound advanced and therefore safe. The idea of low sugar is powerful, but what's often misunderstood is how sugar alcohols work. They can reduce blood sugar spikes, but in sensitive individuals, they can also cause bloating or digestive upset. Quest is fully transparent about this, yet the allure of fitness culture overpowers caution. People want quick solutions, and any product that speaks the language of discipline becomes irresistible. Behind every label, there's a team of data analysts, nutrition consultants, and behavioral scientists who study how far they can push claims without crossing ethical lines. Their goal isn't to deceive outright, but to maximize perception value. The same psychology that drives you to trust one political candidate over another drives you to trust one snack brand over its competitors. Emotional resonance wins over factual precision every time. Consider how these companies tell stories about sourcing. You'll hear phrases like ethically sourced, farm to bar, or sustainably made. These phrases sound meaningful, but their definitions vary widely. Ethical might refer to one audited supplier while ignoring the rest. Sustainable might refer to packaging rather than ingredient farming. The words are legal yet elastic. Their vagueness allows brands to project moral responsibility without committing to measurable proof. It's a linguistic balancing act designed to satisfy both conscience and commerce. This entire system thrives on what could be called soft trust. Unlike pharmaceuticals, where consumers demand hard evidence, the snack industry benefits from emotional credibility. You don't require proof when something feels right. If it looks healthy, if it fits your routine, if it carries a tone of virtue, you believe it. This belief becomes habit, and habit becomes revenue. That's why the healthy snack market has exploded into a multi-billion-dollar empire. You're not buying food, you're buying emotional security wrapped in shiny foil. Let's pause and consider how the brain reacts to color psychology. Studies show that greens and browns are perceived as natural, while reds and yellows trigger hunger and speed. The healthiest brands combine both, earthy backgrounds with vibrant accents, creating the illusion of balance. This color symphony manipulates perception before the first bite. Even fonts matter. Rounded fonts feel friendly and organic. Angular fonts feel industrial and artificial. A simple typeface decision can determine how clean a product feels. Then there's the role of celebrity culture and influencer marketing. Wellness influencers hold enormous sway over public perception. When a fitness guru posts a photo with a Quest or Kind bar, it feels like endorsement from someone living proof of health. The problem is that influence is rarely based on objective research. It's based on image association. Followers believe that if someone fit and confident eats a certain bar, it must be healthy. That logic shortcut keeps the cycle alive. Interestingly, this type of marketing mirrors the structure of political persuasion. Just as campaigns use emotional language to simplify complex issues, snack companies use emotional storytelling to simplify nutrition. Both rely on selective truth. Both count on the public's limited time and attention. The result is a surface-level understanding that feels deep enough to stop questioning. But here's the deeper layer. These brands are not inherently bad. Most of them meet every legal standard and genuinely try to innovate. The issue lies in how we interpret their message. We project our desire for control, health, and identity onto food that was never meant to carry that weight. We outsource self-trust to packaging. That's the real danger, not toxins or hidden chemicals, but misplaced confidence. The human brain craves simplicity. Life feels chaotic, and we look for anchors. Healthy snacks offer that illusion of order. They let us believe that one small choice, a bar instead of chips, a protein cookie instead of candy, balances everything else. It's comforting, but it's also deceptive in its simplicity. Nutrition doesn't work that way. Balance comes from awareness, not marketing. So, as you stand in the snack aisle next time, look beyond the buzzwords. Turn the package over. Read the numbers, not just the adjectives. Ask yourself who benefits from your belief. The answer is almost always the same: the people who sold you the story. That doesn't make them villains, it just makes them effective storytellers. And if you want to protect your health, you have to become a better listener, one who hears what's being said between the lines. In the next part, we'll go deeper into what those lines actually hide, the ingredient loopholes, the regulatory gray zones, and how corporations stay compliant while keeping you hooked. You'll see how sugar, oil, and salt get rebranded into wellness-friendly words, and how the system legally protects these transformations. When you start reading ingredient labels carefully, you begin to notice a strange pattern. The words look clean, familiar, even friendly, but they hide behind layers of technical language that sound harmless. The food industry has perfected the art of renaming. Instead of sugar, you'll see brown rice syrup, evaporated cane juice, or tapioca solids. Each of these names feels softer, more natural, but chemically, they still deliver the same punch to your bloodstream. This is how companies like Kind, Cliff, and Nature Valley keep the healthy illusion intact. The truth isn't that they are lying, it's that the dictionary of wellness has been rewritten by marketers. Take a closer look at brown rice syrup, a favorite among so-called natural bars. It sounds like something found in a health store next to quinoa and chia seeds. But nutritionally, it behaves almost the same as high fructose corn syrup. The glycemic index is extremely high, which means it spikes blood sugar rapidly. The human body doesn't care about the name, it responds to the chemistry. The industry knows this, yet the name brown rice gives it a halo of wholesomeness. Consumers associate rice with balance and tradition, so the emotional connection outweighs logic. Another popular ingredient is natural flavors. That phrase appears innocent, even reassuring. It suggests that the taste comes from real fruit or nuts. In reality, natural flavors is an umbrella term that can legally include dozens of chemicals derived from plants or animals, then processed in labs. The law only requires that the original source be natural, not the final compound. This allows companies to engineer flavors that taste authentic while being manufactured for consistency and shelf stability. The flavor you associate with real strawberry in a fruit bar might come from a mixture of synthesized esters and aldehydes. It is not necessarily harmful, but it's far from natural in the way most people imagine. Regulatory agencies like the FDA give broad flexibility in labeling, not because of corruption, but because of practicality. The food industry is vast, and ingredients constantly evolve. Instead of requiring a list of every micro-component, agencies allow umbrella terms to simplify packaging. This makes sense for logistics, but it also creates a communication gap between producer and consumer. The companies exploit that gap to tell stories that sound truthful without being fully transparent. Consider inulin, often listed in high-fiber snacks. It's a chicory root extract used to boost fiber content and improve texture. On paper, it sounds great, natural, plant-derived, gut-friendly. But in practice, inulin can cause bloating and discomfort when consumed in large quantities. Brands use it because it allows them to advertise fiber without changing the calorie profile much. It's a technical fix that serves marketing better than nutrition. The same logic applies to protein isolates in fitness-oriented snacks. When you read whey protein isolate or pea protein isolate, it sounds advanced and scientific. What you don't see is the industrial process behind it. Proteins are extracted, separated, and chemically treated to remove fat and carbs. The result is a purified powder that may lose some of the nutrients found in whole food sources. Again, this isn't inherently bad, but the image of a natural protein bar contrasts with the reality of a highly engineered product. The term isolate sounds empowering, not industrial, which is exactly why it's used. To understand how these brands walk the line legally, you have to look at how labeling rules are written. The FDA allows companies to list ingredients in descending order of weight, which sounds fair, but it also allows grouping of certain items. For example, if a product contains 3 types of sweeteners like brown rice syrup, cane sugar, and honey, they can be listed separately. This pushes each one lower on the list, making it seem like sugar isn't a major component. Technically true, but contextually misleading. It's a perfect example of what marketing experts call fragmented transparency. You're seeing parts of the truth, never the whole picture. Cliff Bar once faced criticism for marketing their bars as energy food, while containing sugar levels similar to candy bars. Their defense was accurate. The bars were designed for athletes needing quick fuel. The problem was that many consumers used them as daily snacks, not workout aids. Cliff didn't mislead anyone directly. The misunderstanding came from how people interpreted energy. The word has positive connotations, yet in nutrition, energy equals calories. The linguistic trick transforms something potentially unhealthy into something that feels purposeful. Nature Valley, famous for its crumbly granola bars, relies on nostalgia. The oats, honey, and rustic visuals evoke a sense of simplicity. Yet the ingredient list often includes canola oil, sugar, and corn syrup. The irony is that the product's marketing focuses on nature, while the recipe depends on industrial processing. Even the oats and honey variety, which sounds like a basic mix, contains over 10 ingredients. The perception of minimalism hides complexity. Meanwhile, Quest Nutrition thrives in the gray zone between health food and indulgence. Its protein cookies and bars advertise 1 grams of sugar, but contain a cocktail of sweeteners like erythritol, stevia, and sucralose. While technically low in sugar, these substitutes can affect digestion or taste perception. The law allows these claims because they are chemically correct. The emotional result, however, is a sense of safety that encourages overconsumption. People think it's only 1 gram of sugar, I can have another. The trap is set not by deception, but by psychology. The system's complexity becomes clearer when you examine how net carbs are calculated. This term, popularized by low-carb brands like Quest, subtracts fiber and sugar alcohols from total carbohydrates. It gives the impression that a product has fewer digestible carbs than it really does. While the math is technically valid, it simplifies how the human body metabolizes these compounds. Not everyone processes fiber or sugar alcohols the same way, so the net carb number can be misleading. But the phrase net carbs is catchy, easy to remember, and fits neatly into marketing slogans. Even words like gluten-free can create confusion. Gluten-free does not mean low calorie or low sugar, yet many consumers interpret it that way. Brands capitalize on this by promoting gluten-free versions of snacks that were never healthy to begin with. A gluten-free cookie with added sugar is still a cookie. The label transforms a neutral fact into a selling point. It's not lying, it's emotional framing. Another hidden layer of this system involves serving size manipulation. Companies define serving sizes in ways that make nutrition numbers look smaller. A 200-calorie bar might list 2 servings per package, so the numbers appear modest until you realize you'll probably eat the whole bar. This is completely legal, yet psychologically effective. Most people read per-serving stats as if they represent the entire product. That small difference creates massive misunderstanding in how calories and sugar are perceived. The loopholes don't stop at labels, they extend into supply chains. Many natural or organic claims depend on certification programs that vary in strictness. For example, product labeled made with organic ingredients only needs to contain 70% certified organic content. The remaining 30% can include conventional additives. Yet consumers rarely notice the distinction between organic and made with organic. The first means almost entirely organic, the second doesn't. This linguistic flexibility allows brands to maintain a premium image without fully committing to the costs of complete organic sourcing. The packaging itself plays a psychological role. A matte paper finish signals authenticity, while glossy plastic signals artificiality. That's why brands like Kind and RX Bar use earthy textures, muted colors, and transparent windows. Seeing the nuts inside triggers trust. It's a subtle message. We have nothing to hide. The transparency is literal, but also symbolic. The irony is that the visible part is not the full story. You can see the almonds, but not the syrup binding them together. Regulatory agencies constantly struggle to keep up with these strategies. Every time a loophole is closed, innovation opens another. The market rewards creativity, and as long as the claims are technically accurate, companies stay compliant. This creates a paradox. The more rules we add, the smarter the marketing becomes. It's a cat and mouse game where the winner is always the one who controls the story. Behind the scenes, food scientists work hand in hand with marketers. They test combinations that hit the perfect balance between sweetness, crunch, and satisfaction. This concept, called the bliss point, was developed decades ago by sensory researchers. The bliss point is the ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that maximizes pleasure without overwhelming the senses. Once found, it becomes a formula for addiction. You feel like you're eating something light and balanced, but your brain lights up like it would with dessert. Healthy snack companies use the same neurological principles as junk food brands, just wrapped in better branding. The moral tension here is subtle but real. The people designing these products are not villains. Many genuinely believe they are helping consumers make better choices, but they also operate within a system that rewards attention, not honesty. A company that tells the full truth risks losing shelf space to one that tells a prettier half truth. The competition forces even well intentioned brands to compromise. The result is a landscape where good intentions coexist with manipulative outcomes. What makes this all the more challenging is how consumer trust operates in waves. When one brand is exposed for misleading claims, customers grade to another without changing habits. They replace one illusion with a fresher one. It's not about learning, it's about rebranding belief. The cycle repeats until skepticism fades again. So, what's the solution? Education helps, but it's not enough. The human mind doesn't crave data, it craves narrative. To truly resist misleading marketing, consumers have to change their emotional relationship with food. That means viewing snacks not as moral choices, but as practical ones. It means understanding that healthy is not a label, it's a context. A Cliff Bar can be great for a mountain hiker, but excessive for a desk worker. A Larabar can serve as fuel for training, but add unnecessary sugar to a sedentary lifestyle. Context is everything, and that's what marketing hides best. In part 4, we'll uncover the bigger system that allows all this to flourish, how corporations influence health regulations, shape consumer habits, and fund wellness trends that keep you loyal to their products. You'll see why the line between health and profit has never been thinner, and how two rare brands are actually trying to do it differently. To understand why healthy snacks keep getting away with misleading labels, you have to zoom out from the grocery aisle and look at the system that governs it all. The food industry doesn't just respond to regulation, it shapes it. Lobbying groups, corporate partnerships, and trade associations quietly influence how health claims are defined. When you read words like natural, low fat, or source of protein, those definitions didn't appear by accident. They were negotiated, debated, and often diluted through years of corporate influence. Large companies like General Mills, PepsiCo, and Mondelez own many of the smaller snack brands people associate with independent wellness. Nature Valley is owned by General Mills. Cliff Bar was acquired by Mondelez International. These are the same corporations that sell cookies, cereals, and sodas. When they enter the health snack market, they bring not only resources, but also lobbying power. The rules that govern ingredient transparency, label language, and health claims often reflect compromises that favor big players. Small companies trying to be genuinely transparent struggle to compete under the same system. The way lobbying works in food regulation is subtle. Corporations fund research institutes, sponsor nutrition conferences, and provide educational grants to organizations that set public health guidelines. The studies they fund rarely say anything false. Instead, they frame data in ways that soften harmful perceptions. For example, a report might conclude that moderate sugar intake can be part of a balanced diet without defining what moderate means. The phrase sounds reasonable and is easy to cite in advertising. Over time, these findings shape public understanding more than official warnings do. Marketing teams then use these studies as shields. When critics accuse a brand of being unhealthy, the company can reference peer-reviewed research to defend its formula. The average consumer doesn't have time to investigate funding sources or methodology, so the research carries authority by default. This is how science becomes another layer of marketing rather than a challenge to it. The system rewards compliance with perception management, not with nutritional honesty. Behind the polished corporate image, the financial incentives are immense. Health-conscious consumers represent one of the fastest-growing demographics in the food market. The global better-for-you snack segment is worth tens of billions of dollars and expanding every year. Companies know that people want to feel in control of their choices. The trick is to offer that sense of control while still maximizing profits. That's why even the most wholesome snack lines often share manufacturing plants, suppliers, and flavor chemists with traditional junk food products. The same system simply wears a different outfit. Another layer of the problem lies in how food policy communicates with the public. Dietary guidelines are written by committees that balance science, politics, and economic impact. They must consider agriculture, trade, and consumer accessibility. As a result, definitions become vague. When the USDA says to limit added sugars, it doesn't specify how that should look on a label. That ambiguity benefits brands that thrive on technical correctness. They can argue that rice syrup or fruit concentrate isn't added sugar because it originates from a natural source. On paper, they're compliant. In practice, they're bending the intent of the rule. The same pattern repeats in advertising standards. Agencies like the FTC can intervene only when a claim is blatantly false or provably deceptive. Most healthy claims exist in the gray zone of interpretation. A brand saying supports energy doesn't promise anything specific, so it can't be sued for failing to deliver. It's an emotionally appealing phrase that implies benefit without committing to measurable outcomes. This is the legal art of soft claims, and it dominates the wellness industry. Social media has made the system even stronger. Influencers are now part of the marketing machine, whether they realize it or not. When someone with millions of followers posts a photo of themselves holding a bar after a workout, it becomes a powerful endorsement. Many of these partnerships are paid, but others happen organically because influencers genuinely like the products. Either way, they reinforce the idea that health can be packaged, branded, and consumed. The message spreads faster than any regulation can catch up to it. This entire ecosystem blurs the line between wellness and commerce. Corporations have learned to sell lifestyle as much as they sell nutrition. You're not buying a granola bar, you're buying a piece of identity. That identity is reinforced by hashtags, branded challenges, and motivational slogans. Fuel your best self. Real food for real life. These phrases sound empowering, but subtly shift responsibility. If you feel tired or sluggish after eating a healthy snack, you might think the problem is you, not the product. That's psychological judo. The blame gets redirected inward. This mindset has deep roots in American consumer culture. From the early days of advertising, success and self-improvement were tied to consumption. Buying the right car, clothes, or food symbolized virtue. The wellness industry inherited this narrative and repackaged it for the modern age. Now, instead of showing status through luxury, people show it through discipline. The green smoothie, the protein bar, and the recyclable wrapper become markers of moral worth. Brands understand this perfectly. They don't just sell nutrition, they sell absolution. Even the language of guilt-free snacking is part of the manipulation. The phrase suggests that eating other foods is a moral failure. It's subtle, but effective. You buy the product to feel virtuous, not because you're hungry. This emotional framing keeps customers loyal even when the facts don't hold up. A guilt-free cookie might contain fewer calories than a regular one, but the idea of redemption through consumption is what really drives sales. At the corporate level, these emotional narratives translate into measurable control. Companies collect vast amounts of consumer data through apps, loyalty programs, and social media engagement. They analyze when and why people snack, what emotions drive purchases, and which words trigger trust. The insights feed back into product design. Packaging, flavors, and slogans are adjusted to match psychological trends. What feels like a personal decision is often the result of algorithmic profiling. The digital age has turned the snack aisle into a behavioral laboratory. Even when watchdog groups expose misleading practices, the impact rarely lasts. Public outrage fades quickly. A company might reformulate a bar, remove one controversial ingredient, or redesign the label. Then, the cycle begins again with new wording and a fresh campaign. The illusion of change is often more powerful than change itself. Consumers move on, comforted by the appearance of accountability. Yet not every company plays the same game. Some are genuinely trying to break the cycle. Brands like RxBar and Thunderbird Real Food represent a small but growing rebellion within the industry. RxBar gained attention for printing its entire ingredient list in large, plain letters right on the front of the package. Egg whites, dates, nuts. Nothing more, nothing less. The design itself became a statement against hidden complexity. It wasn't perfect. Critics noted that the bars were still calorie-dense, but the transparency was real. Consumers could see what they were buying without decoding jargon. Thunderbird Real Food took another path by avoiding added sugars altogether. Its bars rely solely on dried fruits and nuts for sweetness, skipping syrups and concentrates entirely. The company markets itself with quiet authenticity rather than flashy promises. Its branding feels almost humble, focusing on real food, real energy. It's not as globally recognized as Cliff or Kind, but it's slowly building loyalty through integrity. These are the two brands many nutrition experts actually trust because they're not pretending to be something they're not. They acknowledge that snacks are still snacks, not substitutes for balanced meals. Still, the road for honest brands is steep. Transparency costs money. Sourcing real ingredients without cheap fillers cuts into profit margins. Competing with giants that dominate shelf space requires courage and creativity. Retailers often prioritize brands that can pay for premium placement, so smaller ethical companies end up hidden on lower shelves or obscure corners of the store. The market punishes honesty because it's less profitable than illusion. To change the system, consumer behavior has to evolve first. Awareness needs to become habit. Instead of chasing the latest wellness trend, shoppers must learn to question how products frame their health narratives. That means asking deeper questions. Who owns this brand? What are they not telling me? Why does this snack need to prove it's healthy? Real wellness doesn't come from marketing. It comes from understanding your body and choosing foods that align with your lifestyle, not your fears. The irony is that many of these healthy brands began with genuine missions. Cliff Bar started as an alternative to sugary snacks for athletes. Kind aimed to promote kindness and transparency in food culture. Over time, as they scaled up and faced shareholder pressure, those ideals softened. The story that started with good intentions turned into one that serves profit first. It's a common pattern. Purpose becomes strategy, and strategy becomes disguise. There's also a deeper philosophical issue here. When health becomes a commodity, it stops being a personal journey. It turns into a product feature. Companies decide what healthy means, and consumers accept it. This top-down definition of wellness disconnects people from their own intuition. Instead of asking, "How does this make me feel?" they ask, "What does the package say about me?" The result is a society that knows everything about ingredients but little about nourishment. Change won't happen overnight, but it starts with awareness, the kind of awareness that makes you pause before reaching for a shiny wrapper. Ask yourself whether the product serves your body or just your emotions. That small act of questioning breaks the marketing spell. Once you see the pattern, it's hard to unsee it. In the final part, we'll tie it all together. The real cost of trusting the wrong brands, how these choices affect not just your health, but your mindset, and how to build a smarter relationship with food in a world built on deception. Most importantly, we'll revisit the two brands that actually deserve your trust and what they reveal about the future of truly healthy snacking. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the story of healthy snacks is not just about food. It's about belief, control, and the way modern life trains us to outsource judgment to brands. The danger is not that these snacks will poison you or cause instant harm. The danger is that they quietly reshape how you think about health. They teach you to equate packaging with purity, sugar with energy, and convenience with wellness. Over time, those small mental shortcuts build into habits that cost more than calories ever could. Think about what happens when you start your day with a bar that says natural energy. You feel good before you even eat it. That sense of virtue carries into your decisions, your self-perception, your confidence. You might skip breakfast because the bar felt enough. You might justify fast food later because you ate healthy earlier. The snack becomes psychological armor. But the more we rely on food to validate identity, the less we listen to our own bodies. That disconnection is the real cost of the wellness illusion. The food industry understands this dynamic better than anyone. They know that people don't just buy nutrients, they buy meaning. So they build meaning into every part of the experience. The wrapper tells a story, the name suggests virtue, and the marketing reinforces belonging. Over time, the act of eating becomes a ritual of self-reassurance rather than nourishment. You're not just consuming food, you're consuming an idea about yourself. In this light, healthy snacks become a mirror of modern anxiety. We live in a culture obsessed with optimization. Productivity, fitness, mindfulness, all are sold as things you can buy. Snacks fit perfectly into that logic. They promise to make health simple, portable, efficient. But true health is not efficient. It's slow, contextual, and deeply personal. It depends on rest, movement, emotion, and connection. No wrapper can contain that. If you look at the financial side, the stakes are even higher. The global health snack market is worth over $100 billion. That money comes from trust. Every bar, bag, and bite you buy sends a signal: I believe this is good for me. The industry invests billions in keeping that belief alive. That's why even after countless exposés, recalls, and lawsuits, the same marketing phrases still dominate shelves. The story keeps evolving faster than skepticism can catch it. You can see it in how brands reinvent themselves. When organic became overused, they pivoted to clean. When low fat lost credibility, they switched to high protein. When sugar fell out of favor, they replaced it with natural sweetness. Each cycle rebrands the same concept under a new vocabulary of virtue. Consumers feel like they're making progress when, in reality, they're walking in circles. The language of health evolves, but the formulas behind it often remain the same. This is why it matters to recognize the few companies that resist the cycle. As mentioned before, RX Bar and Thunderbird Real Food represent rare examples of honesty in an industry built on ambiguity. RX Bar's genius wasn't in its ingredients, it was in its transparency. By printing its entire formula on the front, it flipped the power dynamic. It treated consumers like adults capable of making informed decisions. There was no room for mystery. Even if someone didn't like the taste, they respected the honesty. That kind of integrity is rare because it doesn't rely on manipulation. Thunderbird Real Food takes a similar stance, but with a different flavor philosophy. Instead of reducing sugar through artificial substitutes, it builds balance through whole ingredients. The sweetness comes from fruits, thus the energy comes from nuts. There's no pretense of being low-calorie or fat-free. It's simply food in its most honest form. The brand doesn't shout, doesn't decorate its message with buzzwords. It lets the quality speak quietly. In a marketplace addicted to noise, that silence feels revolutionary. Supporting brands like these does more than improve your diet, it changes the economics of the food system. When honest companies grow, it pressures the giants to adapt. Transparency stops being a niche feature and becomes an expectation. That shift only happens when consumers reward authenticity with loyalty. Every dollar spent on truth takes power away from manipulation. But honesty in food is not just about reading labels. It's also about unlearning the mental shortcuts that advertising has built into us. We have to stop looking for health in packaging and start rebuilding it in behavior. That means asking uncomfortable questions. Why am I drawn to certain words like clean, guilt-free, or natural? Do I eat because I'm hungry or because I want to feel disciplined? Am I buying food or am I buying permission to stop worrying? These questions expose how marketing preys on emotional needs rather than physical ones. There's also a moral aspect to this awareness. Every time we choose convenience over mindfulness, we reinforce a system that profits from distraction. The industry doesn't need to lie to keep us hooked. It just needs to keep us busy. Fast life, fast food, fast fixes. Slowing down becomes an act of resistance. Taking the time to prepare something simple, a piece of fruit, a handful of nuts, a homemade snack, feels almost radical in a world where every moment is monetized. The irony is that real health doesn't require complicated solutions. It doesn't come from special powders, fortified bars, or slogans about empowerment. It comes from habits that marketing can't sell: sleeping enough, drinking water, managing stress, sharing meals. These things don't fit into the business model of convenience, which is why the industry keeps inventing products to replace them. The best way to break the system might simply be to remember that your body isn't a market to optimize. It's a relationship to nurture. If there's a lesson in all this, it's that skepticism is not cynicism. Questioning what you eat doesn't mean rejecting every brand or distrusting every claim. It means paying attention to intention. When a company spends more money on branding than ingredients, that tells you something. When a label uses more adjectives than nutrients, that tells you something too. Health should never need decoration. The truth always looks simpler than the story built around it. Even government policy will only go so far. Rules can define what's legal, but they can't define what's right. Real change will come from cultural pressure, the collective decision of consumers to stop rewarding dishonesty. The market listens when money moves. If millions of people suddenly stopped buying products with vague health claims, marketing departments would change overnight. The industry doesn't respond to outrage, it responds to behavior. At the same time, we shouldn't ignore the positive shifts already happening. Some major brands have started cleaning up their formulas, reducing added sugars, and eliminating artificial additives. These changes didn't happen out of goodwill, they happened because people demanded them. The system is flawed, but it's not unbreakable. Every conscious choice creates momentum for reform. The trick is to keep that momentum alive, even when the next shiny superfood trend tries to distract you. Technology can help or hurt this movement. On one hand, data-driven marketing allows companies to target emotions with terrifying precision. On the other, social media also gives whistleblowers, nutritionists, and educators a platform to expose misleading claims. The balance depends on who uses the louder voice. Consumers are not powerless. They just need to care longer than the marketing cycle lasts. In a way, this story reflects something bigger than food. It's a reflection of how truth competes with comfort in every part of modern life. We prefer stories that make us feel safe over facts that make us think harder. The healthy snack industry is just one expression of that human tendency. But unlike politics or ideology, this is one area where personal action has immediate impact. Every purchase is a small vote for the kind of system you want to live in. So what do you do with all this information? Start small. Pick one product you buy often and trace its ownership. Learn who makes it, how it's sourced, what it really contains. Compare it with a more transparent alternative. That single act will change how you see every label afterward. Knowledge builds immunity, not against sugar or fat, but against manipulation. Then, share what you learn. Talk about it with friends, post about it online, ask questions in the comments when influencers promote something that seems too good to be true. The more we normalize skepticism, the harder it becomes for companies to rely on vague virtue. The conversation itself is the revolution. As you move through grocery aisles or scroll through your favorite wellness accounts, remember this: no snack will ever define your health. Your worth isn't measured by what's in your cart, but by how consciously you fill it. Real wellness doesn't start with a wrapper, it starts with awareness. The next time you reach for that bar labeled clean, smart, or pure, pause. Turn it around. Read the back. Ask yourself if the story matches the facts. That pause, just a few seconds of awareness, is enough to change everything. Because the most dangerous thing about healthy snacks isn't the sugar or the additives. It's forgetting to question what you're told. And if you find yourself overwhelmed by all this information, take comfort in knowing that the power still belongs to you. The system runs on trust. You can withdraw that trust anytime. You can choose the simple over the marketed, the real over the packaged, the truth over the trend. That's how real change begins. One label, one question, one decision at a time. Take care of yourself. Eat with thought, live with attention, and let the truth, not the marketing, be your guide. Until next time, stay well, stay curious, and keep choosing awareness.